Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video we will be talking about T4s, specific to the new Hydra team with a red skull. Yeti and myself go through the rankings for this specific team. We'll rank them in what I'll call a classification and then an order. So basically we give it in a classification as essential, good, really good, solid, something like, no, I think just really good, whatever. You'll see it when you're in there. There's some classifications, we color them, and then we rank them in order. So that way you can kind of see, where you want to put the T4s, if any, on this team. Because there's some pretty decent ones and there's some pretty bad ones. So be careful where you put your T4s in this team. And I'll definitely give you a short version where I'm just going to stand there and you can see the graphic for the rankings. And then I'll go through it a little bit more laboriously, where we're going to show the actual abilities, and then I'll go through each ranking. So you'll see it, both Yeti, myself, his rankings, I kind of talk through his comments, and then I'll share our discords and all those kind of things. So anyway, enjoy.
Bring me WolverThor!
Okay, so I promised to have an image up in that direction of what's going on with this thing. And this is that time. I should have some image up there. I can't see it on my screen yet because I haven't input it into the editor yet. So I'm just rambling so that you can see it. What do you think? Like what you see? Yeti's got some comments. I've got comments. You can't see them on this one, but you'll see that later. You can at least see the rankings. You could probably have just paused it here. So at this point, I'm gonna stop rambling, pause it if you really wanna look at this, because this video can be too long. So pause it now, and I'm gonna get into what the actual upgrades are. All right, so those rankings that you saw there, you're gonna be able to find those on either the Discords, either myself or there's gonna be a link for the Tahiti Discord. That's the one that kind of Yeti runs. We're both on each other's Discords a little bit. I've been really bad with Discord. Yeti knocks it out of the park with Discord all the time, so he's really good all over the place. But you'll see the information on both of the Discords, as well as the Ultron bot, which I'm going to go through here to read these specific upgrades quicker to you, because this bot, if you don't have it, get it on your Discord. And again, I'm just going to go through these so you quickly understand what they are. All right, Red Skull first. His basic upgrade is essentially giving you 30% more piercing to a primary target, and then an additional 20% chance for a 100% chance to a chain. So his chain now becomes a guaranteed to one additional target for an additional 30% piercing. His special, and again, I'm only talking about what actually gets upgraded. I'm not going to go through a full ability. His special. So instead of summoning 2 to 3 Hydra minions, you're guaranteed 3, and their damage will be an additional 40%. So guaranteed 3 as opposed to 2, 2, 3. His Red Skull's ultimate, apply offense up to all random allies or self, all random, not specific to Hydra, or self. So that's a big upgrade there from 3 to all. And then attack primary target for an additional 50% damage and gain assists from not 3 to 5, but a guaranteed 5 Hydra allies. So you could have been 3 to 5, and then now it's a guaranteed 5. His passive, you basically gain an additional 5% speed and damage for self and Hydra minion allies. So an additional 5% speed and damage for Hydra minion allies and self. All right, next up, Hydra Rifle Trooper. Basic, you get an additional 5% piercing. Let's see here. His special, you get, let's see here, an additional 30% piercing to everybody. That's that wave attack. So you get an additional 30% piercing to everybody. His passive, Hydra Rifle Trooper's passive, you get an additional 40% chance, so a guaranteed chance to assist Hydra allies on non-attack abilities. It's very similar to what Punisher has with the Defenders. On revive, because you've got that Red Skull revive dynamic when he's got the charges, if Hydra Rifle Trooper comes back, he attacks all enemies for an additional 30% piercing. All right, Hydra Scientist. His basic. Get an additional 20% damage to primary target and an additional 5% piercing. Hydra Scientist's special. You get an additional 30... let me say it differently. You get an additional 3,000 heal on this, plus an additional 5% of this character's max health. So again, 3,000 heal, which to me is... and an additional 5%, at least for endgame. An additional 5% of this character's health for 20%. Hydra Scientist passive. Gain additional 10% max health for Hydra minion and Red Skull allies and self. On turn, apply 2 random positive effects to the 2 most injured Hydra allies. This one used to be 1 to 2. Now it's a guaranteed 2 positive random effects. Hydra Armored Guard. His basic. Apply... oh, no, I'm sorry. Just the upgrade here. Can't forget that. Attack primary target for 290% damage and an additional 5% piercing. So you do the normal damage and you get an additional 5% piercing for 25% total. Special for Hydra Armored Guard. This is heal self for an additional 1,100 health. That's it. 1,100 health. Don't do that one. Passive for Hydra Armored Guard. Gain additional 5% armor for self, Hydra minion, and Red Skull allies. Not too bad. Basic Hydra Sniper basic. Get an additional 40% piercing. That's it. Special for the Hydra Sniper. Okay, so on this one, he does, or assume he or she, you already gained 2 offense up, or plus 2 offense up to a maximum of 3 for self and 3 Hydra minion and Red Skull allies. What this does is give it to everybody. So this is a pretty critical one, especially when you factor in the minions. So gain plus 2 offense up to a maximum of 3 for self and all Hydra minion allies. It's funny, actually, as I'm reading this, I'm realizing it's maximum 3, and when I originally ranked this, I thought it was him and 3 more, which you'd only lose out 1. I'll make a comment on that when I get to the rankings. Hydra, and then gain an additional 10% on the speed bar. Passive Hydra Sniper. Gain additional 5% for self, Hydra minion, and Red Skull allies. Onward defense, gain an additional 5% crit chance for himself, Hydra minion, and Red Skull allies. And that's only on war defense. And then the one that's kind of the alternate, but we'll go through it anyway. Hydra Grenadier. Who knows if I'm saying that right? Only science knows. Let's see, additional 20% damage for primary and adjacent targets, plus an additional 5% piercing. Special, you get an additional 30% damage to primary and adjacents. And then the passive is an additional 5% focus for only the Grenadier. That's it. No one else, just Grenadier. Another big fat. So, yeah, so those are the abilities. Now let's go look at the rankings. Okay, before I start at the bottom here, again, the classifications, essential, really good, solid, got T4s to spare, nothing else to use them on, and just don't. When you see that just don't, especially when Yeti and I agree on it, highly recommend don't even think about it. Even when you see them in the red and yellow, again, it's a stop sign mentality. It's just black is because you're so blackout drunk you don't know what you're doing. I just made that up on the spot. All right, anyway, so let's go at the bottom. So we've got this alt because the Hydra Grenadier, as I mentioned, is the one who's typically left out of this group. Both Yeti and I have the exact same 3 down here as just don't. In the same order, basic, special, passive. My comment for the passive is a 5% focus increase for self only. No thank you. Yeti says, this passive does nothing for the team. If this increased focus for the team, it would truly change in ranking, especially if the T4 increase was better than the T3. And that's a really good point. Anytime you do a T4 increase, it's got to be better than a T3. I think Yeti mentions this a couple times in here, and it's silly not to have a T4 ability better than a T3. Special, my comment is 30% damage increase in rank of 171 is not bad, but Grenadier is left out of the team. So Again, I'm not doing it, not touching it, leave it alone. Yeti says, while this ability has potential to defend against a team that applies a lot of debuffs like Brotherhood, Grenadier does not supply a better kit than the other Hydra minions. Again, having to do with not having that character on the Hydra team. The basic, I say minimal damage and piercing increased. And again, Yeti mentions, I don't believe T4 should ever be lower than T3 upgrades. All right, so then we both have 3 additional just don'ts on this, and they're also the same. So it's the Hydra Rightful Trooper Basic, the Hydra Armored Guard Basic, and the Hydra Armored Guard Special. The comment here for the Hydra Armored Guard Special for me is the low heal, the 1100, that is pointless given the T4 scarcity and gold cost. Yeti says the amount of increase is okay, but the ability's key point is on the level 2 upgrade and does not increase with T4s. The Hydra Armored Guard Basic, 5% increase is not good, is my comment. Yeti says menial increase, do not upgrade unless seeking to finish all T4s on this team, which is probably happening for the 0.05% of all players. Hydra Rifle Trooper Basic, and again, a 5% piercing increase is not good. Yeti says the exact same thing he did before. Menial increase, do not upgrade unless seeking to finish all T4s in the team. All right, so coming in at number 13, we both have Red Skull's Basic. This comes in at the 210th rank damage in the game for a primary target. My comment is small damage increase, and it's a guaranteed chain to an adjacent target is not enough to put this on the radar for me. Yeti says the increased piercing damage is good, as well as always attacking an adjacent target. This is ranked low because of the overall damage output. 200% and 150% is not heavily weighed because Red Skull does not assist anyone else on the team. It's a very good point. Next up, for number 12, Hydra Scientist Special for myself. I say 3k heal increase is really bad. The 5% increase is okay, but not enough for me personally to like it. Yeti's got Hydra Scientist Basic, still in the red, so nothing else to use your T4s on. He talks about a minor damage increase, especially with how frequently the special will be used. It's a poor usage of T formats. And then at number 11, I have that same ability that Yeti just mentioned. 20% damage increase and 5% piercing increase is meh. Yeti's got, and he switches to get T4s to spare, but he's got the Hydra Armored Guard passive. Increasing the team armor from 15 to 20% is nice, but not a huge priority to bring the team to its full potential. I'll get to that in a second, and I tend to agree. We both have Hydra Sniper Basic at that 10 spot. 40% piercing increase is meh, is my comment. And then his comment is another nice increase for basic attacks, especially piercing damage. Coming in at 9th, I've got Hydra Armor Guard passive, just a couple spots higher than Yeti. 5% armor increase is just, I consider it kind of meh. His next up, and he's got this as solid, is Hydra Rifle Trooper Special. Increased AOA damage is always nice. I'll get more to that one in my comments there. I've got that one a little bit higher up, and you'll actually notice this is probably the groupings he and I have on this one is very different. And that's one of the reasons he and I really like to do these, is we give you 2 inputs right next to each other, and that way if you're really trying to think about, oh man, what I want to do, you can see 2 opinions of what we'd like to think are 2 decently educated folks playing the game. So you don't have to agree with us, but we think that. It's our opinions. We're going to keep them. All right, next up, we already did number 9, so next up is number 8. I've got Red Skull Special. That comes in at the 239th damage increase in the game, your primary target. My comment here is not a big jump in the summons number, and the damage increase rank is kind of meh, so that's why I didn't have it higher up. Yeti has got the Hydra Scientist Special. It's as a solid. I had that much lower down here. You can see this is one of our bigger differences. Two classifications apart, and what is that? 4 spots. His comment is, while the baseline increase of 3,000 healing is nice, the extra 5% brings it up to 20% of the Hydra Scientist's healing, and this is where you see the return on investment. And then so at number 9, or I'm sorry, one more up at number 7, I've got the Hydra Sniper passive. And my comment here is 5% speed increase and crit chance for all, small increase. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that Hydra Sniper pass for the crit increase is just for war. I should have made that comment there, but so that's why I've got the T4s to spare. I was like, I didn't love that. He's got that much higher. Obviously, speed is a big aspect of the game. We'll get to his comment in a second. Red Skull Special. While we have a different classification from it, he's starting to call this, I think it's the really good. I've still got that is the got T4's Despair, but his comment is, this is where the summon minions really start to shine. Also, guarantee of 3 minions summoned is key to rounding out the best abilities on the team. And I can't disagree with that necessarily. I just personally had that as a different classification. But they're not that, they're one spot difference as far as rank increase. Next up for me at number 5 is the Hydra Scientist passive, which, see, we haven't, which, okay, yeah. So did I just skip over that for him? I did. I'm jumping too far ahead. I'm sorry. So at number 6, apologize for that. At number 6, I've got Hydra Rifle Trooper Special. So he had that much lower, 1, 2, or 3 spots lower and a different classification. I said 30% piercing increase. This is really about the constant revive damage. I think I made a comment here. Is this, or once I was thinking about this, is people could move away from upgrading this because people might move away from attacking Hydra Rifle Trooper, but I did like the idea that every time this guy popped up, he's going to be hitting more damage. At number 6 for Yeti, he's got the Hydra Scientist passive, which is the max health increase doubles from the previous level. And let's see, so the max health increase doubles from the previous level and guarantees that the most injured teammates have a chance to stay alive. And that's a really good point. The Hydra Scientist there is got something we were kind of looking for that. And I don't think, oh yeah, I'm at the next spot with mine. So he's got, this is where it's interesting to see these concepts, especially right next to each other. I've technically got the Hydra Scientist passive above him in when to do it, but I've only classified it as a solid where he's got it really good. And my comment here is this is about the added 10% HP for all. The guaranteed 2 positive effects for me isn't moving the dial. But you can see where we're both thinking it's, in that 5-6 range, and he's got his as really good, and I'm calling it solid. Yeti at the 5 spots got the Hydra Sniper passive. Again, he's got that 2 rankings higher than me, and 2 spots higher than me. His comment is the speed, crit chance, and damage increase here really shines with Red Skull's passive, which is why I bundled them together. And then so at number 4, I've got Red Skull passive, which he's actually got as well. Again, different in classification where I'm calling it solid. My comment is 5% speed and damage increase is decent. Yeti's comment is the speed and damage increase here really shines with Sniper's passive. That's why they've got them bundled together. And like I mentioned, he's got these two kind of bundled together here. And while I have mine bundled together, I personally didn't love the stat increase there. But we both agree it's the 4th and 5th increase that you'd want to do on this team. Coming in at 3rd, and we both call essential, is Hydra Sniper Special. My comment here is great ability. Hydra can be a marathon, and summons being around could make this ability essential. And in full disclosure, I had this as good, and then I reread the ability and saw that the Hydra Sniper is included in the 3 that would get this, which I thought it was Hydra Sniper and 3 more, meaning you might just miss out on 1. You got to do this. If you're going to invest in this team, give the Sniper the special. It makes it much, much better. Yeti's comment here is providing 2 turns of offense up and changing speed bar by 60%. This allows the team to do more sustained damage. Wholesale agree. Number 2, also obviously essential, is the Hydra Rifle Trooper passive. And my comment here is you're going to get 4 attacks from your Hydra Rifle Trooper on turn 1. You're going to get the Red Skull Summon, the Hydra Scientist Special, and that's on a 2 energy cooldown. You're going to get the Hydra Sniper Special, which is on a 3 energy cooldown, and you're going to get your Hydra Armor Guard Special, which is also on a 3 energy cooldown. So these are all generally low cooldowns, and on top of this, you're going to get the extra damage when this character gets revived. So I just really, really liked this. And actually, now I think about that extra damage when he revives, I'm kind of like, that doesn't make sense there. But anyway, sometimes we drink when we do these, and by we I mean me. But anyway, that's a ton of and I mean, you think about Punisher when he's doing the defenders. he's going to be just shooting people nonstop. So it's really, really nice there. Yeti's comment here is the assist to other Hydra allies on non-attack abilities is really good, as well as the revive damage. It is not a huge increase, but it adds up over time. Wholesale agree. Number 1, we both agree, Red Skull Ultimate, which comes in at the 126th ranked damage in the game, which is not too bad considering Red Skull's damage isn't super high. My comment, offense up to all, yes please. Guaranteed 5 ally assists is icing on the cake, in my opinion. Yeti's comment here is this is the ability that detonates for the team. And with the damage reduction on war defense, the guaranteed assist from 5 Hydra allies to bring a swift end to the other team. So those are our ranks. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Come join us on the Discords. Like I mentioned, this is going to be available on the Ultron bot. If you do your T4 Hydra summon, I'll send that to him right after this video, so it might take a little bit to get on there. You can find it on the Tahiti Discord server, which will be in the link below. That's the one that Yeti pretty much runs. You'll see it in the Discord server for my infographics and that I run, which is in the link below. Yeah, you'll hopefully it's to help you guys. There's not a lot of T4 investment in this team in my mind. Obviously, if you've got some, to spare and throw around, I've got a number in there. Yeti's got a good 3 to 7 of them that you could definitely throw, and that makes the team even better. So depending where you're at, is kind of how you're probably going to look at this, where, I might be looking at it a minimalist approach, just like what could I get away with, and I'm speaking for Yeti. He didn't say this necessarily, but these 4 really good ones make it so the team's even more of a, powerhouse. And this team is a pain in war. So definitely think about what you want to put on this team. And anyway, we hope this helps. Come, our Discords again to join, and click on the subscription button below. I'll give you Yeti's YouTube channel as well. Hammer down on the likes as always. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.